Hi, and welcome to another episode of Facts, Figures, and Fallacies from the Frontline podcast. Today, we are very excited. We have 𝐂𝐚𝐬𝐭 joining us. He is from 𝐂𝐚𝐬 Team, Post Oak Realty. So he's a realtor in this area of North Texas, and we are super excited to have him.
Are you seeing a lot of inventory? Has that increased significantly?
It's the highest it's ever been. Months of inventory for June of Decatur was 6.1 months of inventory. So then you look at, Cook, Montague, Cook's at 6, Montague's at 11 months of inventory, Wise County at 7. So that's many days of on the market potential for these homes. And, you look at, in June, Montague had 170 days of for residential. 170 days in June of last year was 86. So
wow,
it's just Wise County 110 days on the market. Last year is only 4 days less. So 114 days last year at this time in June. So it's just days on the market is very high. It's just nobody likes that because you're having showings and you're having sellers come or buyers come in and pick you apart and beat you up, and it can be annoying to a seller, but that's just the market that we're in. So it's our job as listing agents and brokers in the area to educate the sellers on what they're really up against and what the reality is, not what their neighbor got 4 years ago.
And
so as far as cost per square foot today compared to what would that compare to 2019 that we're realizing?
Can you clarify your question there? Let me see what.
So what the buyers are paying per square foot today, obviously less than what they paid 2 years ago. Have we adjusted back to 2019 levels or worse?
Well, yes. I mean, without running that data, it'd be hard for me to get that exact numbers, but it'd be close to that. 2019, I'd had my license only 2 years at that time, and but you got cost to build approaches, higher, lumber, windows, everything is up higher than it ever was. So, your data, whether it's new or old, price per square foot wise, it's gone up. I mean, it's not where it was. And it also depends on how big the home we're talking. The higher the square footage of the home, the lower the price per square foot. Obviously, opposite of that if it's a lower square footage. So that's a tough one to give you there, Mitzi. It's just that's a tough data point to pull, honestly.
Do you feel like fair values or actual sales prices are less than or greater than a replacement cost, whether it's a new or an older home?
New homes are very much fair on that. I mean, it is what it is to build, and there's some margins there that people up to get profit, for the builder. But people are getting very good market value deals right now on used homes because the sellers, most of them, and not all of them, a lot of them have been rentals, and they've just bought them in cheap, and they've gotten a lot out. They've gotten everything they can for years of rentals. So if you're willing to come in and rehab a home, say kitchen, popcorn ceilings, whatever home you can think of. I'm talking across every county. You see these homes in town. If you can get them, the seller convinced that it's not worth what they were worth, and you can get in there at a good deal, you're getting them way under market value, in my opinion. And then you can put in, 30 to 60,000 in updates, but then you're back to what the market value is. So yeah, you can get them cheaper, but you better know what you're doing to rehab these homes. And you've rehabbed and remodeled, and you get it. They are worth about the same after you put all that money into them, as in market value. But you can get some deals right now, and most sellers are pretty much understanding that the reason I'm selling it is because I don't want to replace the HVAC system. I don't want to replace the windows. I don't want to redo the kitchen. So they will come off to get it off the hands, get it out of their books. But yet the buyer is going to come in and redo that. And then I think that what they put into it's right back what probably the seller wanted or thought that the data showed that they wanted it. But the new buyer is now into a home that's going to last longer. It's going to appreciate quicker in value, in my opinion, is much quicker because of the remodel. They could sit on it for a year and a half or 2 years and then resell it with the updated kitchen, updated windows, updated everything, and it'll fly off the shelf. Versus the other one sat on the market for 100 days. Anything that's remodeled right now is a lot easier to sell. Anything that is where a home or a buyer can come in and start living in it right away are much easier to sell. It's not that like they sell for more; they just sell. I can sell them quicker and easier. And also, Curtis and I had a deal where house on some land that the seller was sitting on the market for a long time, and he represented the buyer, and they came in, and they're the only ones that, in my opinion, were capable of taking on that job, which is, everything from landscaping, painting to gutters to HVAC, windows, inside and out. But they have that time and the skills and the resources. Most 25 and under, 30-year-olds and under don't have the resources, money, time, and effort or skills to remodel a 3,000, 2,800 square foot home on some land, because that's a lot of time, effort, and work. They're driving to Fort Worth every day to go work and make money. They don't have that time. They don't have the extra $60,000 in cash, and they didn't have a asset before that they could have resold to get that equity out and then put it into something else and remodel it. And they're using most of that equity as the down payment. So not every older homes are like my toughest homes to sell right now are like in Indian Trails or Seven Wires or Holly Ridge, all those homes that are amazing homes built in the late 90s or 2000s, and they're awesome homes. I mean, we all drove in there and thought those were great homes, and they still are. But the windows are 20 years old. The HVAC system can be 15 plus years old. Water heaters are very old. Fascia, paint, caulking, gutters, drainage, roof, everything is at its end of its lifespan. Well, that's a lot of money to reduce. So we're at a turning point where people aren't willing to completely come in and buy those homes, or not even. I feel bad for the sellers because they did all that. Like, that was their generation. They updated all those homes, and they did all that. They took care of it. The current buyer pool that I've been seeing and dealing with just don't love doing that. I mean, that's why this high density subdivisions that are coming into Decatur and all they're going to blow up. And yes, it's a different switch for the buyer mentality coming in here into our county here. Actually,
are the prices of the high density homes brand new, comparable to the older homes?
No, they're much cheaper and much lower interest rates. The big high density developers and builders are able to, whether almost, I'm going to say, 1.5 cheaper in interest rates in incentives, that, or maybe even more, on an adjustable rate. The fixed rates are a certain interest rate, and the adjustable rates are going to be a certain rate, but they do have a discounted rate. And so that makes their payment cheaper. They're walking into a home that's brand new paint, brand new everything. They don't really have to mow and weed eat a whole lot. They don't have to weed eat around 6 acres of trees like you would in these bigger places. I mean, that's just in a lot. I mean, I'm sorry, I've said it. I think buyers, sometimes they just want to come home and flop down on the couch and turn on their Netflix after a long days of work or whatever it is. There's a generation of that want to do that. Not everybody wants to come home and, clean out leaves out of the pool and weed eat, push mow this area, mow that back pasture. And it does make that sellability of that bigger home harder. And the new inventory of the high density, homes like Indicator is going to do very well, in my opinion. And the prices are very low in comparative to what we thought they'd be, 300s, and to 400. And you get a really nice home that where people used to care about, hey, is that crown molding, or is that, how tall are those wooden baseboards? What type of flooring is that? Quartz or is that granite? Now it's like, hey, it'll work. I'm only going to live here for 5 years or 6 years or 4 years, and then I'm on to something else if there is another opportunity. And this money's tight, as you know, in people's pockets, and they get a really good bang for their buck in those high density homes right now.
So would a high density home, brand new, how would that compare to a home, in town, in an older subdivision, but still, maybe a 10-year-old? Are those houses?
That's a good question, and unfortunately, they're about the same price.
That's what I thought.
Especially to a seller, they think that home is still worth 300, to 285, but a buyer can come in and get a D.R. Horton home for the same price, brand new, lower interest rate, lower payment, no maintenance for
Right.
a long
10
time.
years.
I mean, 10 years. I mean, they won't have to touch the outside of that paint of that house for, they say 7 to 10. I guarantee it's longer if they, keep it clean and whatever. But I mean, and I go up to these homes, and unfortunately these older homes, and first thing I do is I walk up, I'm starting to look at the paint on the fascia right before where the roof and transitions and the gutters, and you're just like, this hadn't been painted in 12 years. You can just see it, that. And so, it's just a lot harder, to sell those because of cash in people's pockets. And y'all know a lot about that. It's, there's not a lot of extra cash to bring to those homes. And sometimes if you have enough cash, you're potentially putting it down to buy down a point, so it keeps your monthly mortgage down.
Right. So those high density homes, do they have the special utility district tax on it?
I think they all do now. Yeah, I mean, they're wrapping that into that somebody has to pay. I mean, the developer takes that on, but that's getting passed on to somebody somewhere. And
so if you buy in that area, you're going to get a better deal on a home, but your property taxes would be higher.
I mean, like I said, that all starts with the developer, and it is going to be passed down to the consumer. But yeah, it's going to be wrapped into the asking price or into the taxes. And so there's two different options there, but yeah, that's going to happen. But buyers don't care. They don't know about that.
Right.
I mean, most don't. I mean, way high majority do not care about that. As long as they just need to know, how much do I bring to the closing table and for my down payment, and what's my monthly payment going to be? And that's all they care. And those high density developers, when I say high density, if the consumers don't understand, I'm talking, 5,000 square foot lots, maybe even, it's up to now they've changed it to 8,000 to slow down some of the growth here in Decatur. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of homes on a small piece of property, and they're trying to fit in as many homes as they can in that acres.
Right. Do you know how many of those subdivisions we have in Wise County? New ones?
Yeah, it'd be different subdivisions would be 1, 2, 3. I mean, four that I'm aware of coming, and those are. They said it's back in the day. It was over 2,000 doors, including apartments coming, and that's a lot of doors. There's one deal I'm representing the sellers on, Curtis and I, and it's going to be 670 lots, I believe. And, I've heard of the 300s. I've heard of another, it gets up to well over 1,000, 1,000 doors in new construction homes and on small lots. Then there's some apartment complexes at 200 doors at a time, usually. And that, that throws a lot of people in our city and on our streets and in our schools. So in a short amount of time, 3 years, I think it'll be rolling. And so that's where we're at. But
I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I'm happy to see the D.R. Horton development that they're doing behind Walmart. It's a very nice, and they've. I want people to go in there and drive in there and see that they did a good job. That the city worked with them well, and the conformity is really nice. It fits in well. It looks good. I think that'll be a really nice place for not only middle aged to first home buyers to even elderly needing a place to just not take care of 6 acres or 10 acres anymore. I think it's a nice thing to have for our community, and
Yeah.
there's more coming.
What does
Kason,
that look
I was going
like?
to ask. Sorry, Mitzi.
Go ahead, Nick.
I just wanted to ask. Earlier, we were talking about inventory was up now,
Mm-hmm.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it true that for a lot of years, Wise County specifically was very difficult to find inventory in? So now they're building so many apartments, and these national companies are coming in building these subdivisions. Is that just to keep up with the growth, um, or do you think that are that many people moving in, or are they kind of getting ahead of themselves a little bit with it?
They're forecasting what's coming, and it's yes, they pay engineers and forecasters to figure out what will work and what they suggest they should do for this area. And the guys that we talk to who are high density developers, they're not. I asked them, I don't even know, a year and a half ago. I was like, well, what's on your why Decatur, and they just felt like it's the next corridor. I mean, it has nowhere else to go.
Mm-hmm.
All eyes are on Wise County right now, and they are not going to stop until they keep coming. I mean, I firmly believe that it's all coming. It's going to come up to 87, and they will do anything they can as long as they can get water and sewer to their developments. It's not going to stop. So Decatur knows this. The city of Decatur knows this now, and they've got bombarded with 3 to 4 developments all at one time, opportunities. And so that's a market data, that's forecasting, that's trends, that's sales for these builders. I'm speaking mostly to developers. I don't represent the builders, but the developers that are coming and buying the land that I usually have listed or can help them with, they are just all in on finding something because they see that the numbers work. I mean, there's profit for them, there's profit for the builders, and there's a demand that people probably don't see it or feel it or think that we need it, but there's data showing it somewhere. And kind of that saying, if you build it, they will come. People will drive until they can afford. So people will move out of Denton, North Fort Worth, other areas, and drive an extra 30 minutes to afford the home that they need to drive. That's all that it really is I've said it before. If they live in Decatur and drive to the Metroplex to work, that's essentially one long podcast, and they're there to work and they're back. And so it's their
Right.
And now that's why we did so well. Curtis and I did so well up in Sunset, Montague County after COVID or during COVID, because people were working from home in land sales, and they were like, well, we'll buy an extra 20 more minutes. So now they're driving 50 minutes, but gas was cheaper then. Everything was cheaper at that time for those short couple years. And so people were buying like crazy 20 minutes further north of Decatur into Alvord and Sunset, where now it's pretty tough sell, honestly. In Montague County, it's got a really high days on the market stuff up there. And long story short, people will drive until they can afford.
Right.
Afford.
Yeah.
So a significant portion of these homes are going to commuters.
Mm-hmm.
I know we've had.
I mean, you got Decatur EDC has done a great job with bringing in, as many jobs as they possibly can with the industrial park out on FM 2264. But I mean, they're not bringing thousands of homes or jobs in. They're, Cardinal Paint, that diesel company. I mean, they've done good at that, and they will continue to try to grow that, and that will help. But there's no way people like, that there's just not enough jobs for them to live here. They're going to have to drive. I mean, they could work for co-ops, whatever. I mean, in Denton, there's a lot more jobs in that area, so they're willing to drive that extra 30 minutes to get into an affordable home where their payment is affordable and the condition of the home is nice.
Right. And what does the rental market look like with all of these additional housing?
It's actually doing really well. I don't know, what happened, but the market for I guess the rental market is just really good. I mean, I haven't heard anybody struggling to get places rented. We've rented a few this year for some clients, and that was a pleasurable, process for me that I didn't used to do. I never had to lease properties residential for clients, and in a market like that we're in, as a real estate agent, I was willing to take on to do anything just to keep keep income coming in for me. And so I was leasing residentials. I've been leasing a lot of commercial, and I've been doing pretty well at that. I'm happy about that, but I think that the demand's pretty high. People do not have that extra cash to bring to a closing table to buy buy a house, and there's not a lot of, they may even be struggling financially where they can't get approved for the loan that they need. Whatever it is, the money's tighter, and so a rental for a couple of years or a year is what they're doing, and so rental market's been doing really well here in Decatur.